Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our weekly briefing. Today we'll be hearing from Public Health and also from Community Development, and then I have a number of items to go over as well. So we'll start with Kate Austin Stanford from Public Health Madison Dane County. Good morning, all. Thanks for being with us today. A bit of data to share this morning. As of today, we have 20,522 cases of COVID-19 in Dane County. 3,302 people have been diagnosed with COVID-19 since Janelle was here at this briefing last week. We continue to see increased and sustained growth in new COVID-19 infections throughout the county. We will release a snapshot later this afternoon, which we go into detail in our data, but I do have a few details to share right now. 14-day average of cases in our community is 374.6 cases per day, and this is up from 296.1 cases last week. The 7-day average is 414, up from 335 last week. Right now, there are 160 people hospitalized with COVID in Dane County. When Janelle was here last week, that number was 134. So we are seeing hospitalizations in nearly every age group. On Tuesday, Governor Evers issued an executive order urging people to stay home. And this order highlights the crisis Wisconsin is facing as our COVID-19 cases skyrocket. It advises us as Wisconsinites to stay home, urges precautions Wisconsinites should take to stay safe if they have to leave their home, and encourages businesses to take additional steps to protect their workers, customers, and surrounding community. For us in Dane County, Emergency Order Number 9 stays in effect, and everyone is encouraged to follow the additional recommendations that were released in the state order on Tuesday. People travel in and out of Dane County for work, school, and other activities. Statewide orders help support the orders that we have in place locally and further protects our communities. Today, I'm here to remind folks to stay home. Please stay home as much as possible and only make trips when necessary, such as to go to work, to pick up groceries, or to refill prescriptions. We are asking folks to avoid gatherings of any size between individuals who are not members of the same household. And please limit your travel. We strongly encourage everyone in Madison and Dane County to remain close to home and discourage folks from engaging in unnecessary travel. I know these recommendations are not new, and I understand that this guidance can feel frustrating, particularly as we look forward to the Thanksgiving holiday. This time of year, we want to be close to the people we love and to celebrate with friends and family. But the sad truth is that in our state and across Dane County and in the city of Madison, it is just not safe to gather with anyone outside of your household. This year, and especially in this moment right now, caring for your loved ones means keeping them safe from COVID. So start to have conversations now with your family to let them know you won't be attending in person. These can be difficult and uncomfortable conversations, but are necessary to prevent the spread of the virus. In addition, consider and plan alternate ways to celebrate the holidays, including Thanksgiving. And this could be virtual celebrations and sharing food or giving gifts via delivery or no contact drop-off. The more that each of us in Wisconsin and everyone here in our community is able to abide by these recommendations, the bigger impact we will have in reducing the spread of COVID-19. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Next, we're going to hear from Jim Okeefe, who's the Director of Community Development for the city.
Thank you, Mayor, and good morning. I want to provide a brief update regarding the situation with the men's homeless shelter. As you know, earlier this week, Mayor Rhodes-Conway announced that the temporary men's shelter, which has been operating out of the Warner Park Community Rec Center since March 30th, is moving to the city's Fleet Services building on First Street. The shelter moved to Warner Park in the early days of the pandemic because the previous downtown location, Grace Episcopal Church, lacked the space to safely provide that service. Warner Park was set up to serve 135 guests. It has room for perhaps as many as 150, but with colder weather upon us, we need to be prepared to accommodate more users than what we can at Warner Park. The Fleet building offers nearly 40,000 square feet of space, about twice the size of Warner Park. It can accommodate safely as many as 250 guests if needed. The site also provides ample space for expanded bathroom and shower accommodations, as well as indoor nightly intake and health screening. This is a much better and safer venue than Warner Park, much better than what has been serving the men's population at Grace Episcopal Church. And we hope that it will help to convince some who have been reluctant in the past to use the city shelter facilities to do so. Fleet Services is currently in the process of moving out of the First Street location. We will need a little bit of time to prepare that building for its new use and are targeting a mid-December transition. Porchlight, the shelter operator for the past 35 years, including at Warner Park, will continue in that role at First Street. I want to underscore that this is a temporary move. As I'm sure you know, this site, the First Street site, is the future home of the Madison Public Market. This isn't going to change that. Pending the outcome of a federal grant application, construction work on the public market is scheduled to begin in the fourth quarter of 2021. We're confident that that allows sufficient time to secure a site for a permanent men's shelter and open a new facility. And toward that end, last night, the Madison Common Council added $3 million to next year's capital budget to put toward a new men's shelter. Earlier in the week, Dane County, with whom we intend to partner on a new shelter, did the same. We hope very soon to be in a position to identify a location for the new shelter. And we'll certainly have that as soon as that decision is finalized. I want to close by taking just a minute to express our gratitude to Northside residents and to Alder Abbas for their support and patience during our stay at Warner Park. The center served us very well in a time of great need, and yet we recognize that our use required some sacrifice on the part of regular users of that facility, and we want to thank them for that. We hope to resume some programming as early as January of next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim, and I want to add my thanks as well to the North Side and the neighborhoods around Warner Park for supporting the presence of the shelter at Warner Park. And I also want to thank the Emerson East neighborhood, who I'm sure will welcome the temporary shelter into the Fleet Services building at First Street. It's taken a lot of work from a lot of people to make this happen, and I'm appreciative and want to be clear how committed we are to making sure that folks who are currently without homes have a place to shelter over the winter. I do want to go through a number of updates and start by just reinforcing what Kate said. The numbers of new COVID cases in Madison and Dane County are extremely disturbing, and we all need to be very mindful of how we are keeping ourselves, our families, our neighbors, and our community safe. So please do think about where you're going and why, when you're in contact with other people, and if you can reduce that contact. We need everyone to be wearing masks, to be keeping at least a 6-foot distance from people that are not in their household, and to be regularly washing your hands or sanitizing. This is going to mean that your winter plans are different than they may have been last year. My family, Amy and I usually host Friendsgiving. We have for several years now. We have, 20 people in our tiny house. Literally the entire first floor of the house turns into tables with chairs around them to fit that many people. But we are not hosting this year because that would not be safe. And so we will instead be the two of us at home, likely with multiple computers Zooming with different parts of the family, cooking for two instead of cooking for 20. And that's sad, and we will miss everyone, but it's necessary to keep ourselves and to keep our friends and to keep our community safe. So I'm asking all of you to do the same, reevaluate your plans for Thanksgiving, for Hanukkah, for Christmas, for solstice, for whatever you might celebrate this winter. Find a way to do that that's not in person with folks that aren't already in your household. We desperately need to beat this virus, and we can only do it if we're all working together. In other ways that we can keep ourselves and each other safe, I'm happy to announce that the drive-through flu clinic that Public Health Madison Dane County is sponsoring is now available for everyone, regardless of your health insurance status. So starting yesterday, the free drive-through clinic, which is at the Alliant Energy Center, is now available to anyone in Dane County, adults and children 6 months and older, regardless of your health insurance status. You can, it's at the Alliant Energy Center. Please use the Olin Ave entrance. It's open Tuesdays, Thursdays, noon to 8 p.m., Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. You don't need an ID. No one will ask you about immigration status. There are interpreters available. Se habla español. You can get free transportation by calling 608-243-0420. And please plan to wait 15 minutes on site to make sure that you don't have any adverse side effects. If you're experiencing symptoms, if you've been diagnosed with COVID-19, or if you're wanting to get a COVID test, you're not going to be able to get a flu shot at the same time. All right. Switching topics entirely, I wanted to share with you all that I've recently sent a letter to our federal delegation asking them to support funding to mitigate the noise impacts of any potential F-35 squadron deployment at Truax Field. Whatever we think of the F-35s, we can acknowledge that the noise that they make, and in fact the noise from the existing planes at the airport, is potentially detrimental to our community. And we do need the federal government's help in mitigating those impacts. So I'm asking our delegation to step up and help us find funding to do that mitigation. A number of updates on parking and traffic as we move into winter. Some of the rules are changing. We are restarting our enforcement of peak hour lane restrictions, and this is going to help us mostly with snow removal when that time comes, which I think it's not that far away. So please start respecting the peak hour lane restrictions again. We are starting in on alternate side parking beginning on November 15th. I know this is everyone's favorite thing, but again, it's about helping us keep the streets clear when it does snow. So starting November 15th, please respect the alternate side parking rules. And you can get much more information about that, including signing up for regular text alerts at cityofmadison.com/winter. We have also expanded the snow emergency zone. You can see the new map at cityofmadison.com/winter. And in those areas, the snow emergency zone areas, alternate side parking is only enforced during a declared snow emergency. So again, get those text alerts, check that website. It's going to be your best guide for information. All right, our award-winning Madison City channel is now available in another format. It's available on Roku. I'm going to show my age. I don't even know what a Roku is, but if you have one, you can watch City Channel on it. So you can find that by opening your Roku, go to Add Channel, search for Madison City Channel, and click the Add Channel button. I just want to pause and thank our award-winning Madison City Channel. Not only are they facilitating these briefings and streaming many, many other meetings, their staff has worked overtime to adapt to COVID and bring you as much of your city government as possible. So big thanks to them. Before I go on to community resources, I want to take a moment and talk about the budget which the City Council adopted last night. So last night, the Council did approve 2021, both the capital and operating budgets for the city. We adopted approximately $166 million capital budget and a $349 million operating budget that was just about $28,000 shy of our allowable levy limit. So came pretty close there. This is a really difficult budget season for all of the city. Departments, with very few exceptions, had to propose 5% cuts. And it was difficult both for me, my office, and for the council to make tough choices about which of those cuts to accept. There are a few, notably one department that, or two departments that did not have to take cuts were Public Health and Community Development. There were departments that took 5% or more cuts, including the mayor's office, but most departments were somewhere in between, getting cuts of closer to 2 or 3%. And there are some very painful pieces of this budget. We are potentially looking at layoffs in the parking utility, although the Finance Committee did roll that back a bit. We are requiring some furloughs of our staff. It will be between 2 and 4 days per staff person over the course of the year, and we have a graduated system that we've developed around that. And we did cut some services. So there is going to be an impact on quite a few people across the city, both our employees and our residents. Nonetheless, I do think that we did the best that we could, and that I'm glad that we were able to move forward, that mostly avoided layoffs, that required smaller furloughs than many of our large employers in Madison are taking, and still was able to support critical investments in housing, homelessness, youth programming, and jobs and other community services. The COVID crisis and its related economic impacts continue to be a top priority of the city. And we launched a COVID Flexible Relief Fund that will help us deal with emerging issues, including the looming eviction crisis. We'll be working with community partners to allocate $750,000 to families in our community to help them survive and recover from COVID-19 and the related economic impacts. And even in these tough economic times, I'm very pleased that we were able to launch a new violence prevention unit in Public Health Madison Dane County, and to double our investment in a public health and community-based approach to violence prevention. This is a critical need in our community, and I'm counting on the good folks that will be in this violence prevention unit to do critical work for the city. We also created an alternative community response team that will send a community paramedic and a specially trained crisis worker to deal with behavioral health emergencies when they occur in our city. We are actively planning these crisis response teams, and we will roll that out in the new year. The budget also fully funds the Civilian Oversight Board and the Office of the Independent Police Monitor, which will begin their work soon, focusing on continuous improvement in policies and procedures in the Madison Police Department. And we greatly increased our investment in affordable housing. We are stepping up our investment in developer-supported affordable housing by over $6 million annually, which is compared to just $4.5 million 2 years ago. We're also working to support low and moderate income families to help them purchase and improve their homes through consumer lending programs. And all in all, these programs will invest $51.9 million in affordable housing over the next 6 years. As Jim said earlier, we're also investing $3.5 million in a new men's shelter. We're continuing the hard work to make Madison resilient against flooding and other impacts of climate change by investing in stormwater management and by providing $21.7 million over the next 6 years to complete flood mitigation projects, along with adding $9.9 million for energy improvement projects that will help get us to our 100% renewable Madison goals. And taxpayers, I hope, will be pleased to know that we accomplished all of this while holding the property tax increase to the lowest level in 18 years. The levy limit will be 2.52, the lowest, the increase will be 2.52, the lowest since 2003. The 15-year average has been 4.3. So again, I want to thank everyone who worked on the budget. I want to thank all the department heads that had to make tough choices in what they were proposing. And I want to thank the council for their partnership and for passing the budget last night. Then I'll end, as I always do, by highlighting some of our community resources. If you are in need of housing or in danger of losing your housing, please contact the city's housing helpline at 608-264-0549 or email housinginfo@cityofmadison.com. If you need help with internet or phone service, call the Public Service Commission at the state at 608-267-3595. If you need help finding a child care provider, call Community Coordinated Child Care at 608-216-7022. To connect with other social services, including emergency food options, call United Way at 211 or text your zip code to 898-211. And we do offer a free financial resource hotline to help our residents navigate through the financial issues related to COVID-19. And you can visit cityofmadison.com/financial hotline to fill out a short interest form or call 608-315-5151. These resources and more are highlighted on the city's website, cityofmadison.com. On the homepage, there is a button saying Community Resources. Click on that link and you can find more information. Finally, I want to share some of our upcoming meetings. Thursday, November 12th at 2:30, the Early Childhood Care and Education Committee meets. We will not have a common council meeting tonight because we passed the budget last night. And Monday, November 16th at 5 p.m., the Transportation Policy and Planning Board meets. Also at 5 p.m., the Landmarks Commission. And at 6 p.m., the City County Homeless Issues Committee. On Tuesday, the 17th at 4:30 p.m., the Police and Fire Commission will meet. Also at 4:30 p.m., the Common Council Executive Committee meets, and at 6:30, the Common Council meets. On Wednesday, the 18th at 4:30, the Police and Fire Commission will meet again, and at 5:30, the Alcohol License Review Committee will meet. All these meetings and more are listed on the city website, cityofmadison.com. Click on the meeting schedule. All these meetings are virtual, and you can find out more online about how to sign up to view them or to testify at them and see agendas and minutes from previous meetings. All right, that is what I've got for today. Linda, do we have questions?
Yes, Mayor, we have questions for each of the speakers today.
All right, well, let's go in order. We'll start with Kate.
Good morning, Kate.
Good morning.
We have one question for you today, and it says Dane County is one of 7 counties that are not listed as critically high on the DHS website, but the cases are rising. Once we cross the threshold into critically high, will you all do anything more in terms of rules or restrictions? And what do you think is driving the rise in cases?
Thanks for the question. Just a little bit of context for folks about that critically high level. As I stated earlier, we are seeing unprecedented levels of community spread of COVID across the state and in our community. The DHS at the state level created this new category of critically high to be able to capture where we are with the spread in the state. Critically high, that level is 3 times the level or the rate at a very high, right? So it lifted the ceiling really high. And I also want to say that as a state right now, we are seeing more average cases per day than New York City did at their peak last spring. So that's just kind of putting this all in context. We want to do everything we can to not get to the critically high level. That really hinges on the whole community coming together, changing our behaviors, and deciding that we're not going to get there. Our contact tracers right now are reporting to us that spread is really happening because people are trying to return to normal. People want to get back to their normal lives. I understand it. We're all really tired. We're tired. As we look into the winter, there is nothing good can come from us trying to get back to normal at this point without getting our spread under control. Right now, we do not have plans to change our orders. It is really hinging on the community coming together and that making the decision to stay home, to stay masked, to avoid gatherings, particularly as we go into these colder months coming up. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kate. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning.
The question for you is, how is the search going for the new permanent men's shelter? Has the city identified other properties yet?
The search is going quite well. We city staff, and in consultation with our colleagues in Dane County government, are actively evaluating at least 3 properties at the moment. We think each of them has great potential, but we're evaluating them against the needs that will be asked of the properties and against one another. I expect that we will be in a position within a matter of perhaps a couple of weeks to make recommendations to the mayor and to the county executive, and hopefully we'll be able to have a final decision before the end of the year.
Thank you so much, Jim. That's it for you today. And we have one question for you, Mayor. And it says, despite the financial challenges of this year, what priorities do you think the adopted 2021 budget addresses? When will you sign the budget?
Well, I think, as I said earlier, we are continuing, even in a difficult budget year, to stay focused on our priorities. Obviously, 2020 has delivered a new priority to us in the form of combating COVID-19. So that is something that we did have to work into the budget, and I think we've successfully done that. I'm proud of the response of city staff and particularly thankful for the work of Public Health Madison Dane County in keeping us all safe. So that really is a top priority and is reflected in the budget. Other priorities reflected in the budget are a commitment to racial equity and particularly to wealth building in our Black community. And that is woven through the budget in a number of different ways. We're also staying focused on affordable housing, as I mentioned earlier, and really investing in making sure that we continue to both create affordable housing, to create housing at all levels of affordability, and to make sure that we're connecting folks with housing in a number of different ways. And then we're continuing to focus on climate change and reducing our vulnerability, increasing our resilience to climate change. And we have added a focus on violence prevention. Again, something that I think is much needed, and I'm confident that our new violence prevention unit will do really good work. So it was not easy to find the ways to support these different initiatives in this difficult year, but I'm very pleased that my office and staff have been able to work together to do that. I'm pleased with the investments that the City Council made in the Finance Committee and then again last night in increasing some of these things, particularly the affordable housing and COVID response. So I do think that we're in a pretty good place in terms of focusing on the city's priorities in this next budget. I will be signing the budget when the clerk's office delivers the proceedings of the meetings to me. We don't usually do a ceremony here in Madison where mayors sign the budget, and I think even less appropriate this year to make a big deal about it. But so I'll be signing when the proceedings are delivered to my office. Are there other questions?
That is it for today, Mayor. Thank you.
All right. Well, I just want to end again with asking folks to please think about how to keep yourselves, your families, and our community safe. And I mean that not just from COVID, although that is a primary concern right now, but also to think about the impacts that this year has had on all of our mental health and all of our economic well-being. So there are plenty of ways that we can support each other while still staying safe from COVID. Obviously, we need to wear our masks, we need to keep our physical distance, we need to wash and sanitize as much as possible, but we can still support each other while we're doing that. We can get outside, we can take physically distanced walks or have physically distanced talks. We can order from our local businesses online for delivery or pickup. We can pick up the phone and check on a neighbor or chat on social media to see how people are doing. And it will take all of us doing these things to get ourselves, our families, our neighbors, our community through what could be a very hard winter. So I'm asking you all to take good care of yourselves, but also please to take good care of each other. Thank you, and we will talk to you at the next briefing. Have a good day, everybody.